All right. So we're drinking our carbonated
Yuzu,
Japanese citrus. Yes.
yuzu coconut water.
Feeling very
Infused.
well hydrated and infused. And that is as smooth / awkward a segue as possible to do a callback to something you mentioned earlier, which was da 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 da. And then I started paying attention to things I had neglected before that, and da 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 da, including health and body, things like that.
Yeah.
So when did that happen? Was it a gradual development of wellness habits, self-care, or was there a reckoning at some point? What happened?
I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's a health reckoning for them or for somebody else that kind of shocks them into, and maybe an overlay of general age.
Mm-hmm.
The substrate is age.
Yeah.
And ultimately, everybody probably figures this out. Some later, sooner than others.
What is your age now? I have no idea. I can't tell.
57.
Okay, God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've really held on to the youthful glow.
Everything's falling apart.
Look at me. Oh, God. I'm like American History X as of 10 years ago, and then it's just the crow's feet are turning into crow's legs. But you seem to be very active.
I am. And it was for me, it was that same thing. It was a catalyst. It was a pretty sudden external catalyst. Not my health, but my wife's and children's. And so I have 3 kids, Will, Josie, and Russell. And Josie and Russell are twins. And twin pregnancies are high risk.
Yep.
Definitionally. And so I was age maybe 35, 34, running Expedia as a really young public company CEO. The company's doing great, but I had to deal with stuff like 9/11, in the travel business. And I had been a pretty, not quite sleep under the desk, but kind of work all the time kind of guy for a long time because I love my work, whatever. We all kind of, we socialized with Microsoft people and then Expedia people, and we just lived, this was our lives. We talked about it at dinner. And so I was pretty neglectful. While I was a weekend warrior type basketball player and tennis player and snowboarder, I didn't yet realize that I had to maintain myself in order to be able to do those things. So I was just working too hard, working all the time. And then when Sarah was pregnant with Josie and Russell, she went into labor really early. We were on our way up to Whistler. And she was, for those who understand these things, I think she was 27 weeks pregnant out of a 40-week typical gestation period, which is very early. That's not very, very early, but it's danger early. And so we were driving on our way. So I was like, I think something's going on. Let's go stop by the hospital. So we stopped by the hospital just so her OB could check her out. And she was partially dilated and just some small contractions. And Sarah thought nothing of it. The shoemaker's kids have no shoes. Sarah's like, oh, fine. I'll just keep the seat reclined as we drive up to Whistler. And her doctor, Edith, said, not only are you not going up to Whistler, you're not going home. You are going to be admitted to the hospital, and we're going to put you on muscle relaxants. So that began a kind of a 6-week, very scary period of my life and her life, where she was in the hospital making sure that the babies didn't get born. I was taking care of my 3-year-old Will, and everything turned out great. She carried them to 35 weeks or something, 36 weeks. Kids are perfect. The birth was a little hard. The kids were perfect. And it all worked out. But in the course of that period of time, it got me to just reassess my life and how I led my life and what my priorities were and how I, needed to take care of myself mentally and physically. I kind of had the realization that for sustainability, I was going to have to start doing a bunch of things. If I wanted to do the things I love to do for the long term, I was going to have to really build my foundation. I decided to quit my job at that point too. I was still CEO. IAC had just acquired the company, and I made the decision at that point, but that this lifestyle was not, I didn't need it.
Needed change. And what were some of the changes? How did you layer things in? Did you boil the ocean all at once? And I was like, all right, here are the 12 new things I'm starting. Did you layer it in? And would you have done anything differently?
I started just exploring things. The big change was we moved to Italy 6 months later. or maybe 8 months later. And I developed a whole new set of things I did when we were living in Italy. Like I took up road biking, which is a social Italian thing to do, which was great. It was great for making friends too. But I had a period of time after that where I was in Seattle and I started, I remember the first real class, the kind of thing I'd ever done was hot yoga. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I feel incredible after I come out of that class, and it's, strength and some conditioning, I guess, and really interesting and kind of a mental thing too. And I started doing that. And then I didn't hire a trainer until much later, but I eventually got there. I didn't lift weights for a long, long time. I was more just kind of running. I took up running. I ran a couple marathons. I discovered my joints were not built for marathons. Anyway, I did a bunch of things, Tim, recognizing that I felt better when my body felt better, and my mind felt better when my body felt better. Mm-hmm. And it's just built over time to the age I am now, where like the physiology of what's happening to my body and my bone density, my muscle mass at my age, I'm like continually been ramping up how much I do, A, because it makes me feel good, but B, because I'm, just age-wise deteriorating. Mm-hmm. And if I want to snowboard, I've snowboarded 35 days this year. Mm-hmm. And it's been amazing. And if I want to keep doing stuff like that, I've got to be strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what does the current regimen look like? Generally speaking, I'm sure there are exceptions when maybe you travel or go to various places, but what does the general regimen look like?
Yeah, I would say probably a couple hours total of zone 2-y type stuff, bike, rowing, maybe tread. My knees kind of are not great running, but a softer treadmill works. But the Peloton is my favorite one there. Mm-hmm. And then weightlifting, different body parts, maybe 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of just play stuff.
What kind of play?
A lot of snowboarding and
sports.
Play sports. Yeah. I play tennis. I like to do a lot of stuff with my body in the world.